Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormy B Man, and I am back. Welcoming you to Kung Fu Film Focus for this Thursday, August 3rd, 2023. And this evening, the focus will be on a classic film from 1983. And this film fell into a specific genre, one that we often reflect upon with good feelings and ties, because the genre of Shaolin films got a chance to surge to the forefront of Kung Fu action. And this particular film this evening was one that, when it first hit cinemas, people got very excited about this film. The film is Shaolin versus Lama. Yeah. This was one that many people saw this one for the first time, and they were trying to figure out exactly what is Lama, what is Shaolin. And basically, it was a way of bringing the culture of the eastern part of the world together in fight films and allowing the action choreographers to create new dynamics for fight scenes. And they got to be pretty darn good at it. So this little gem as I said, from 1983, kicked off a boom of Shaolin versus films for the rest of the decade. And some of the films, though they were low budget, showed tremendous action and had players who could really do martial arts. I'm talking about the shapes, which in martial arts filmdom, shapes are considered the various styles that are fought on screen. You know, sometimes in certain kung fu films, you can be watching and the guy will break out in a certain style and his opponent will say, "Oh, monkey fist." And then the guy's like, "Right," you know, and then they fighting and everything. And then he was like, "Do you think that your crane style can defeat me?" And stuff like that. And it was like they would call out their styles that they're fighting under. And that became a popular thing. And I could remember I was still, you know, young enough in the theaters at the time watching these films. And when they would do that and break out into the styles, the audience would roar with laughter and cheer because it was something new at the time, especially new to Western audiences, the American audience. We hadn't seen anything like that before, and it was cartoonish in a sense, but then again, we didn't know much about the martial arts outside of karate and judo and kung fu, which had been introduced to the U.S. by Bruce Lee. We were still catching up, huh? There was Taekwondo from Japan, huh? And Kendo, huh? But Kendo was that art of fighting with the swords and the wooden sticks. And people took to all of this with astonishment and support. When you would sit in the theater in between movies, when they would show a trailer of what's coming next week or whatever, and they show a trailer for a film like Shaolin versus Lama, and you see all of those guys dancing around on the screen and doing flips and multiple twists in the air and everything. We was like, "Ooh, man, I'm coming next week to see that." You know what I'm saying? So it's like it really, really struck a chord with audiences. And it just continued to fuel the kung fu film genre. People became so enamored of these films. And then martial arts studios began to, the enrollment for martial arts schools picked up tremendously. And people wanted to learn how to do what they saw with these films, you know, and it was very popular. I cannot express enough to you all how popular all of this was. See, just to hear me sit up and talk about it, it sounds like, oh, okay, yeah, you're an OG, you know, that was, you know, 30, almost 40 years ago, and this and that. It's like, okay, but more than that, people. You know, more than that, just something totally different. I mean, see, everything today is like a retread of what has already transpired. Part of that reason is we're near the end of civilization, people. Many folks don't want to realize that and recognize or acknowledge, but we are. And the age of information and data and all of that, we're at our zenith. And what's next is to hit the wall or to come crashing down. And society is slowly starting to crash, as you can see. Well, actually, not slowly. It's happening rather rapid. So just understanding this, it brings a certain type of a reality check to what we're experiencing. Now, Shaolin versus Lama was directed by veteran action film director Lee So-nam. Lee So-nam was responsible for numerous kung fu films during this time. He was a director that, he directed like 41 films. He was assistant director to 2. He acted in 2. And that career, it spanned across, I want to say, from 1973 till 2013. And most of those films were kung fu films with a few other types of films mixed in. But some of his more popular films that you may remember were bashers, like Chinese Kung Fu Against Godfather, which is a very rare and classic action basher. If you've never seen that film from the early 70s, starring a lot of the guys that you would know from the early 70s, it's rare and hard to find, even on DVD or VHS. But it's a popular film because those who saw it in the cinemas back then, a lot of the villains and action guys, like from the Jimmy Wang Yu films, and some of the even the Lo Wei Big Boss starring roles, those guys were in that film. He also did a film called The Eagle's Claw from 1977. He hit up the Bruce Lee exploitation film craze with films like Exit the Dragon, Enter the Tiger, and The Chinese Connection 2, which is also known as Fist of Fury Part 2. The Hot, the Cool, the Vicious, which is a great classic basher from 1976, starring Don Wang Tao and Tan Tao Lang, also known as De Leon Tom. Man, what a great film that was. Then there were others to follow up, like The Tattoo Connection, Enter the Game of Death, The Challenge of Death, Shaolin Invincible Sticks, Invincible Kung Fu Legs. But in 1983, Shaolin versus Lama was something that he did, and it brought a new sense of action to kung fu film audiences. Now, the major star of Shaolin versus Lama was a gentleman by the name of Alexander Lo Ray. Now, Alexander Lo Ray is an actor, martial artist, who was also popular around this time because he had a physicality and physique that was not unlike Jackie Chan, and he could do his own stunts as far as the martial arts action. It was one of the reasons that he came along. There was another actor around this same time, Conan Lee, but Alexander Lo Ray had much better kung fu, and he was from Taiwan. And his filmography from 1980 to 1999 consisted of almost 50 films. And he was very popular for a run, especially the early portion of the 80s, where most of his films saw him starring in Shaolin versus Lama, the sequel Shaolin versus Ninja, another sequel Shaolin Temple Against Lama, and then Shaolin Chastity Kung Fu. That was followed up by films like Ninja Kids, Ninja versus Shaolin Guards, The Super Ninja, which is a favorite of mine, and Ninja Hunter. Those films spanned again from 1980 to 1984. And Alexander Lorey was very popular for a duration during that time. A great martial artist. Now, another great martial artist that played in this film, and he was actually a tremendous skilled fighter in real life as well as on screen, was Chan Shang. Chan Shang is one of the baddest kung fu cinematic fighters in the history of kung fu films. He was born in 1956 from South Korea, and he's still alive today. His filmography spanned from 1979 to 1994, and he starred in about 36 films. He's known from films like Kung Fu of 7 Steps, also known as 7 Steps of Kung Fu. This film, of course, Shaolin versus Lama, A Fistful of Talons, The 5 Fighters from Shaolin, Ninja Hunter, just a number of films. Chan Shang is one of those guys that when you see him doing his thing on screen, there's just something about him that makes you say, you know what? This dude could probably really be dangerous in real life. Even now, at his advanced age, you know, he is on Facebook. You can actually look him up on Facebook. He's still in great shape, just a little older looking, still has the mustache, but Chan Shang was an extremely excellent martial artist, man. And he reminded me a lot of the old gentleman who used to play Wang Fei Hung, Quan Ta King. Now, Quan Ta King played Wang Fei Hung in more films than anyone, including the James Bond roles that were played by so many gentlemen that played James Bond. He played Wang Fei Hung so many times, almost 100 roles, I believe, or titles of playing Wang Fei Hung, that people began to associate him as Master Wang. And Quan Ta King still in the 70s, the early 70s, starred in some Golden Harvest films where he reprised the role of Wang Fei Hung, like the film Skyhawk with Sammo Hung, The Magnificent Butcher with Sammo Hung, and Dreadnought. Quan Ta King was well respected, a senior of action film, and he was just thought of as the ultimate granddad of kung fu films. This man, Chang Shan, was every bit as respected with what he was able to do. And I think the only thing that kept him from being the biggest and most of a breakout star was the fact that he was from South Korea. Had he been one of Hong Kong's own or mainland China's own, his stardom probably would have went through the roof. You know, they still had racism even amongst the eastern part of the world, depending on where you came from. That's just like Karada is one of the best villains for martial art films ever. And because he's from Japan, he played a lot of Japanese roles in the films, and sometimes even played like he was a mixture of, you know, maybe biracial with Chinese and Japanese blood or something like that. But he was popular and he had excellent martial arts. See, that's one of the things that they didn't discriminate about the Kung Fu films. If you could really do the martial arts, they respected you and they put you out there. That was one of the things that you could hang your hat on. Now, when you talk about films like Shaolin versus Lama, the Lamas were monks also, counter rivals to the Shaolin Temple, similar to like Wu-Tang. Okay, Wu-Tang was the enemy of the Shaolin Temple, and they fought back, and there were films about that. But the Lamas were like, you know, cult group or an occult group, and they practiced their own specific martial arts as well. So there are many films that depicted the Lamas misrepresenting martial artists. There's a film, I'm trying to think of what the title is right now. It escapes me. The Shaolin Plot, where Sammo Hung is playing a Lama in that film. And they go after a monk, a Shaolin monk who's in retreat in the mountains when James Tien is going to him. The monk is played by Cam Kang, who played the blind man in One Arm Boxer Part 2, aka Master of the Flying Guillotine. And the Lama that Sammo is playing in there has like a balding head but long hair on the sides, and he has this beard and mustache. Well, in that film, that Lama that was in that film, there's a guy in this film that looks exactly like how Sammo looked in that film, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's still playing the same guy. But this film shows and depicts martial arts in a really great way, a great way. Let me trying to get my camera here together. Let's see. Let me go to the chat for a moment. See who we got in the building, man. It says we got about 9 or 10 people in here. I want to see who we got. Eric Jordan in the building. Chi-Town's finest is out there saying blessings and love, Sensei. Gonna be a part of the rewatch crew. Wishing you a great show. Thank you for that, Chi-Town. Shogun 76, the Shogun of Harlem, back with us, saying salute to Stormy and everybody in the chat. Let me wrench my man Shogun up, because Shogun has always come in here representing. And I love that avatar, man, with you got, oh boy, the Shogun of Harlem over there. Benjamin Harrington is with us saying salute Stormy. The Jab Jamboree, my man Ack Reacher in the building saying salute Sensei, what's good with you? That's another fellow Kung Fu loving brother right there. The Jab Jamboree. Shamar Rashawn Shalom in the building saying salute to the Sensei. Right back at you, brother. Eric Jordan saying Muay Thai. Yeah, Main Biker is out there saying good evening, Stormy and chats. T. Berry back with us. What's happening? Main Biker says, Stormy, I'm here trying to play PS5 Call of Duty Peace, and you making me want to turn it off and watch a Kung Fu movie. Well, that's what you should be doing, man. Instead of ruining your brain cells playing that Call of Duty crap, put you on some Kung Fu, man. Huh? Because that might even make you get up and be inspired to do some moves. Move some furniture around in the living room, huh? And practice on some of them scissor kicks or something, man. That's what I say. You gotta be able to put them damn games down, man. Huh? It ain't good for you for an extended period of time. I know it may make people think it is, but that's why Stormy is here talking about his beloved Kung Fu films. I had this one on for a little bit before I came on live. I watched it one day last week, and then I watched it again a couple weeks back before that, because I knew this was going to be the next Kung Fu film focus. And what I like about this film is the simple plot, where we see Alexander Low Ray playing a gentleman that it's like he's seeking to learn the best of Kung Fu, okay? And so what he does is he ventures across the countryside and the provinces. He's a Kung Fu fanatic. So he's searching for the ultimate master, and he goes to various schools throughout the provinces and everything, and he challenges the teachers. He's like, I'm here to learn from you, but I want to challenge you, and if you're good enough to defeat me, then I will be your student, you know? And but if you're not good enough to defeat me, I'll continue my quest to learn, to seek out where I can learn from somebody who is more advanced in Kung Fu than myself. So that's a very simple plot, but he runs across a Shaolin Temple student who is combing the town and being a rascal because he's robbing some gamblers and stuff like that, because he's trying to drum up some money so he can get food and wine for his seafood back at the teacher, who happens to be a renegade monk at the temple. So when Alexander Low Ray runs across him, the shenanigans begin. And it's so funny because when you look at how the film plays out, the young student is played by William Yen, also known as Yan Jang. Now he is a little slight young man, and as he plays his role in the film, he befriends Alexander Low Ray. And what he does is he finds ways to sneak him into the Shaolin Temple so he can learn Kung Fu from his master inside the temple. And there's a lot of training sequences and comedy that happens in between that, but you get to see displays of real Kung Fu skills. And there's also a female lead in this film played by Li Wai Wan, and she is actually a real martial artist as well. She starred in a few films back during this time, and and she's known for doing martial arts. She starred in this film, and she plays the girl that's on the run in here, but she has real martial arts, like some Taiwan training there. So she's the female lead in the movie. Excuse me a second. I got this little bit of a cough. I'm trying to not to cough over the microphone too much. But yeah, so rounding out the cast of this film is another veteran from the martial art films, Lee Chen Kwang. And he's the one that plays the Sifu at the temple that William Yen is stealing wine and food for. There's a crazy scene where he's trying to ward off Alexander Low Ray, who wants him to teach him Kung Fu so bad, and he tells him no. So they end up fighting and everything, and he ends up where he puts his foot in Alexander Low Ray's mouth. But when they show his foot before it goes into Low Ray's mouth, man, it is one of the dirtiest feet you ever seen in your life. The foot is so dirty and dingy and cruddy looking, and he put it in old boy's mouth. I've seen this film so many times over the years, but every time I see that scene, man, it grosses me out to no end. If I'm drinking something, I gotta spit it out. If I'm eating something, I gotta spit it out when that scene pops up. That's why I can't watch that scene eating or drinking, because it is as gross. Can you imagine a homeless person that's been homeless for like the longest of time, and they took their foot out of their shoe and put it in your mouth. Oh my God, man. That's what that scene is like in here. I don't know how Alexander Lorray acted out that role. It's like it was the grossest. The grossest. Man, crazy, man. But T-Berry's in the building. He says, I'm gonna check this movie out this weekend. Please do, man. It's pretty tight, man. It's pretty tight. Also, I got another theatrical poster of it I could put up there. Some of you might even recognize this particular poster with Chang Shang on the cover. I love this with him and his red and gold robe on. Man, that's cold-blooded right there. This is a classic poster for the film. Hen Dog is out there saying, salute Stormy, salute to you, brother. Eric Jordan says, I'm learning something new about Kung Fu. This movie is a little bit before my time. Hey man, the Kung Fu film craze is before your time. But there's nothing wrong with going back and checking it out. Just like there's nothing wrong with going back to check out some of the old gangster films or westerns, because that's a part of our culture. You know, I do that show, Nerds on Culture, but I'm telling you, Kung Fu films have many categories. And one day I'll do a special Kung Fu film focus where I talk about the genre of Kung Fu and the subgenres of films that fall under that. This happens to be a subgenre title. The Shaolin films. The Shaolin was a whole different genre of martial art films. But Shaolin versus Lama is a classic because of it's showing the ways of a young man trying to improve his Kung Fu through challenging the powers that be. It's a pretty good, interesting thing when you see it that way. Main Biker says, I saw a movie over 25 years ago that I need to re-find. I'm going to have to explain it one day, Stormy. Maybe you might be able to help. Yeah, I might be able to. All you got to do is hit me up in my email, brother. Hit me up in the email, and I can respond to you in kind there. And Eric Jordan says, I know that foot was stinking. Man, that was the most gross. Ew! It just grossed me out, bro. It's like, excuse me, it just such a dirty, nasty moment. And that, you know, back in the Kung Fu films back in those days, they went for sensationalism like that. So it was always some kind of shock treatment that they would put you through in watching those films back in the day, man. And it was hilarious. It had the audiences howling, man. I'm telling you. Mahari Nation Sports Podcast in the building. He says, good evening, Stormy. Good evening to you as well. Man, let me tell you. But the Kung Fu in this film is pretty darn good. Alexander Lorray, when he faces off in the third act in the showdown after learning martial arts, he has to take on Chang Shan. Chang Shan is a rebel Shaolin renegade who comes back to try to wipe the temple out and kill the abbot of Shaolin. The abbot is the chief priest of Shaolin temple, so that's why they call him abbot. But he comes back to try to take down the temple, and Alexander Lorray has learned enough to try to fight him off, and so, you know, the battle begins between him and William Yin and Chen Shang, and also Li Chen Kuang, who plays the monk who taught Alexander Lorray. And man, there's some good fighting going on in this film. I'm telling you, it's like this film is not heavy on movie sets and stuff like that, because a lot of the fight is out in the country or in the outdoors somewhere in the mountains or in the woods or something like that. So there's not a lot of set pieces here. But man, when you've got good martial artists like this, you don't need a lot of set pieces. You just choreograph these guys, put them out there in the space, and let them do their thing. That's what's so great about these kind of guys. My man Willie Lowe is in the chat. He says, clicked in to say salute, brother, and smash the like button. Hope all is well. Gotta hit the shower. Long day training and work. Be easy, good bro. Same to you, man. And you better check this Kung Fu film out, Willie Lowe. You claim to like Kung Fu, but if you ain't checked out Shaolin versus Lama, you ain't no Kung Fu aficionado, bro. You ain't. So make sure you put it on your list. It's out there on YouTube. You can grab it, you know what I'm saying, and check it out. And in the meantime, I've been talking so much this evening that I didn't even get a chance to show you guys some of my Shaolin versus Lama images that I captured from the film posters and everything. This just here, this is a poster with movement. You see a couple of guys doing some tumbling techniques. Man, these guys are bad, bro. They are bad. And this is the type of imagery, you know, that just imagine that it could have been so much more, you know. So let's see here. I had, I know that image was larger than that. Funny how things happen, bro. Funny how things happen, but I can adjust on the fly. Cause Stormy got it like that. Let's see here. 8. Maybe 30 or 40, maybe 60. I'll go with 60. Yeah, put some more images up there for you guys. Here's a great shot of Alexander Lowe over the shoulders of Chang Shan. Man, these two guys, they were excellent martial artists, man, and their fight scenes are great in here. They're just total badasses, man. I love these kind of films. When I was young and growing up, I was so into Bruce Lee that I couldn't enjoy some of the other Kung Fu martial artists until I realized, okay, Bruce Lee ain't coming back. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, let me go out here and enjoy these films for what they are. Cause I was so into Bruce Lee, man. I was just mad that I couldn't see a fresh Bruce Lee movie, you know. But there were plenty other martial artists once I allowed myself to start really enjoying the genre. A lot of great martial artists out there, man, who were able to make some pretty darn good films. So I was able to grow, huh? That's what happens. You have to be able to be flexible and grow. Here's a great shot of Chan Shang fighting the abbot from Shaolin. And you can see him attacking him with his long halberd with a hook on it. And the abbot has his staff. But there was a lot of great Kung Fu fighting in here. And one of the funny things about showing the older monks and priests, they put that, you know, the gray beards on them and the big, thick gray eyebrows and sometimes the gray ponytails and stuff like that. But the guys who were playing the monks were always young dudes. So it was like, when they be flipping around and stuff and going off, it's like, man, you see that stuff happening and you be like, man, these are great martial artists just doing their thing. And the action choreography here was done by a gentleman who was a veteran around the films, Pen Gang. Pen Gang was a actor and also a martial artist who helped choreograph some of these films. He was of the variety of he was of the variety that he did a lot of tumbling and flipping and stuff like that. So a lot of his choreography was based in that because he was from Taiwan. So coming up with those Taiwan opera troops and everything, that's where he learned his skills. And he was born in 1953. He starred in over 39 films, and he directed as a martial arts director 13 films, including this movie, Invincible Kung Fu Legs from 1980, The Woman Avenger from 1980. This film, Shaolin versus Lama, and A Life of Ninja from 1983 as well. He was an assistant martial arts director on 4 films, all films that featured or had something to do with Jackie Chan. So he was one of Jackie's top assistants. Spiritual Kung Fu from 1978, The Fearless Hyena from 1979, Dragon Fist from 1979, and Jackie Chan's action-directed film for Angela Mao, Dance of Death from 1979. So Ping Gang was a active guy, very active. And when you see guys working with Jackie like that, there has to be a lot of respect to what they bring, because they're more than capable as martial artists and or choreographers. So that's the thing to say about those guys. You have to admit that, you know, they get out there and they do their thing, and they be going for it, man. They be going for it. So let's see what else we got here for you guys. There's one more shot that I could show you here, where another shot of them practicing as a team of Shaolin fighters. This is great, man. It's like, you know, these films, like, even though Alexander Loray was the star, one of the things is that you had so many good martial artists in the film like this. The star is the kung fu. That's what these films meant. You had guys who could perform it and exhibit it, but the styles, the shapes, the patterns, that's what was so great about these films. Coach Chris is out there saying, Shaolin versus Lama is my favorite kung fu flick of all time. Says a lot of the excerpts on Wu-Tang Clan records come from this movie. This film and many other of the other Shaolin, Wu-Tang, ninja films, these guys, the Wu-Tang Clan did lift a lot of the sound bites from the English dubs of these films, because a lot of times those lines of dialogue fit perfectly and were spoken with such emphasis during the moments. Like, there's a famous Shaw Brothers film that I may be reviewing in the future called 10 Tigers of Kwangtung, and that film there, that has a lot of sound bites that the Wu-Tang Clan lifted as well. Unscripted Virtuoso, what's good with you? He says, salute Sifu, Wrenches, and chat. Man, you bringing me back, Stormy. I haven't seen this movie in years. Another classic and favorite, right up there with Deadly China Hero, Iron Monkey, etc. Yeah, man. And like I said, this one is available on YouTube as well, man. So, you know, you could get yourself out there and check this one out, man. And enjoy yourself, bro. Enjoy yourself. I even brought a little special moment to share with you guys. the trailer for this film. Check this out. Fair use, fair use. Shane, he didn't even take it easy on the ladies, boy. He kicked his butt. Fair use, fair use.
Congratulations on becoming a Lama again.
It's been 15 years. At last I have got the chance to destroy the Shaolin.
We are both Buddhists, Shaolin monks and Lamas. Why must we always kill each other?
That's enough talk. Now I'm gonna defeat you.
Secret Shaolin style of the Buddha finger, because only this style can defeat Yao Feng Lin in combat. And now you try it.
Fair use.
The Buddha finger.
Yeah, that's the trailer for Shaolin versus Lama, man. That's what's up, you know. See, kung fu films, when they're good, you don't need a whole lot of stuff. It's just to let these guys loose or let them off the chain, so to speak, huh? That's what's up, man. Everybody who usually reviews and rates this film, they either give it 4 stars or 5. And that's basically just based on the action that you see. That's what that is. It's a very popular film. Even a couple of the brothers come in here this evening and they say, wow, I ain't seen this film in years. My favorite film, whatever. See, I keep telling you guys, Stormy B, man, be talking about these kung fu films, man. And they have a special place. Yeah, the Buddha finger, man. Yeah. That's what's up. Eric Jordan says, damn, bro, putting in work, right? Yeah. And I'm putting in work too. You know, talking about these movies, man. I try to get people to come and check out the Kung Fu Film Focus, man, but it's, you know, what happens is I do the show live. It be just a few of you here in the chat. Then I look up about 3 or 4 days. It's like over 400 or 500 people done watch the show. I'm like, come on, man. Y'all can't give me that live love, man. Can't give me that live love. Come on, man. Come on. Yeah. Because I tell you, look, the last one I did, look at here. I'm going to my main page for a moment. Looking at my videos. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Okay, yeah, like I was looking at, I was trying, my picture froze over here on my end, but when I did the Prodigal Boxer from 2 weeks ago, you know, I only had about 10 people in there on the night that I did the live, and I look back on the numbers of the Prodigal Boxer, it's like over 360 views on it. So people be liking to talk about these Kung Fu films. When I did Dragons Never Die last month, that has almost 500 views. So you guys like your Kung Fu. It's just that it take you a minute to get around to watching it because you're watching all this other stuff, I guess. But I try to do my best, man. I try to do my best bringing you guys these Kung Fu joints, man. So, yeah. Now, Unscripted says, didn't know it was on YouTube. I'm definitely putting it on this weekend. Yeah, man. Most of the films that I cover now, you can find them somewhere, you know, even if it's on Amazon or Tubi or something like that, or Freevee. You know, but I like to go into the crates and pull specific titles out for you guys, because it's easy to talk about the Shaw Brothers stuff. Shaw Brothers did almost 1,000 films, but I like to go into these independent films because some of these independent films were very good and very popular, and some of you guys don't even know that. You might remember them because they were favorites of yours, but you don't realize how popular they are until I start talking about them and giving you the background on them and things of that nature. So that's one of the things to be looking out for, you know. But yeah, but that's what's up, man. This film was definitely one to recommend, especially if you just like shapes. And again, when we talk about shapes with Kung Fu films, that's basically films that show the different various styles. So, Shaolin versus Lama is right up there with that as far as showing. Yeah, Eric, check it out, bro. I'll probably finish watching it tonight myself because, like I said, I had it on a couple of hours ago, just, combing through it, keeping myself fresh on it. But I love these films, man. Love them. That's what's up, Yeah, I love these films. So I go through the work of putting together these images for you guys and everything, because I be trying to, make it as a presentation for you guys, man. I love this stuff. I want you guys, if you love it too, to enjoy it, and endorse it. You know what I mean? Share it. You can share it to Facebook or your other social media platforms. Share Stormy's work, man, so people can hear about me and find out about me, man. You know what I mean? That's what you got to do. Share it. You know what I mean? So, but yeah. But we just about here at the end of the evening's show, man. I want you guys, smash that like button for me and, go and check this out. For some of you going to check it out this weekend, I hope you enjoy it. For those who going to check it out tonight, enjoy it. Drop me a message in the comment section and let Stormy know how you liked it. You know what I mean? Or how it brought you back. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. But I want to say, man, thank you guys for tuning in this evening. I appreciate everybody. Came out, showed me a little love and support. And we're going to get on up out of here. Shout out to the mighty LDBC, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.